Cô gái bị suy nhược cơ thể, cần nghỉ ngơi và nằm viện theo dõi.
Dạ thưa bác sĩ, vâng, chúng tôi sẽ làm theo.
Tốt.
Hello, dear viewers. Just a few days before their wedding, Huyen pushed herself too hard trying to make everything perfect. She handled every detail on her own, forgetting to take care of her health. The exhaustion finally caught up with her, and she collapsed with a high fever right before the most important day of her life. When Day came to visit and found her lying on the bed, drenched in sweat and burning with fever, he panicked and immediately called an ambulance to rush her to the hospital. Even in her delirious state, Huyen was still worried about Day, telling him not to trouble himself because of her. At the hospital, Day stayed by her side without leaving for a moment, caring for her with quiet devotion. When Huyen finally woke up, the first thing she saw was Day's tired but loving eyes. He simply said, "Thank you for getting better." In that moment, they both realized that what truly mattered was not a perfect wedding, but the sincere love and care they shared. If you enjoy heartfelt, emotional love stories like this one, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next episodes. Your support is the greatest motivation for us to continue bringing meaningful stories that touch the heart. See you in the next video.
Only a few days remained before the wedding, and what should have been the sweetest time of anticipation slowly turned into days of exhaustion for Huyen. Determined to make everything perfect, she insisted on handling most of the preparations herself. From reviewing the guest list late into the night, confirming floral arrangements, checking the stage decorations, to answering endless phone calls from relatives and vendors, she barely allowed herself a moment to breathe. Every detail mattered to her. She wanted their wedding to be flawless, not just for the guests, but for De, the man she loved more than anything. Yet, in her pursuit of perfection, she forgot the simplest and most important thing: to take care of herself. For several nights in a row, Huyen slept only a few hours. She skipped meals, telling herself she would eat later, but later never came. A half-finished bowl of porridge sat untouched on the small table beside her bed, long gone cold. The curtains were drawn, and the room felt unusually quiet when De decided to stop by that afternoon to check on her and discuss a few final arrangements. He had noticed her voice sounding tired over the phone earlier, but he never imagined what he was about to see. When he gently pushed the door open, his heart dropped. Huyen was lying on the bed, completely still, her long hair damp and clinging to her pale face. Beads of sweat covered her forehead, sliding down her temples onto the pillow. Her breathing was shallow, and her lips looked dry and colorless. "Huyen," he called softly, stepping closer. She barely reacted, her eyelids fluttering for a second before closing again, as if even that small effort drained the last of her strength. A wave of fear rushed through him. De quickly sat on the edge of the bed and placed his hand on her forehead. The heat shocked him. Her skin was burning. She wasn't just tired, she was running a high fever. Guilt tightened in his chest. How had he not noticed sooner? How had he let her carry so much alone? He glanced around the room, the scattered wedding notes, her phone still open with unfinished messages, the untouched food. It was clear she had pushed herself beyond her limits. "Huyen, can you hear me?" he asked, his voice trembling despite his effort to stay calm. She murmured something incoherent, her body weak and unresponsive. In that moment, all thoughts about decorations, schedules, and ceremonies disappeared from his mind. None of it mattered anymore. The only thing that mattered was her. Without wasting another second, De grabbed his phone and called for an ambulance. His fingers shook as he explained her condition, urging them to come quickly. Then he returned to her side, gently wiping the sweat from her forehead with a towel and whispering reassuring words, even though he wasn't sure she could hear him. Inside, he was terrified. The woman who had been so strong and lively just days ago now lay fragile and helpless before him. As he waited for help to arrive, De held her hand tightly, silently promising himself that once she recovered, he would never allow her to bear everything alone again. The wedding could wait, perfection could wait, but Huyen's health and smile, that was something he could not afford to lose. Inside the ambulance, the siren echoed sharply through the afternoon streets, cutting through traffic as the vehicle sped toward the hospital. Huyen lay on the stretcher, her body trembling slightly under the thin blanket. Even in her feverish state, her fingers instinctively searched for Dae's hand. The moment he felt her weak grip, he immediately clasped it tightly, afraid that loosening his hold might somehow make her drift further away. Her eyelids fluttered, and though her vision was blurred and her thoughts scattered, she seemed to recognize him beside her. Comme ça, Do?" She whispered faintly, her voice barely audible over the sound of the siren. "Anh Dung, vet va?" Those broken words pierced straight through his heart. Even while burning with fever, even while barely conscious, she was still worrying about him. Dae leaned closer, brushing a strand of damp hair away from her face. "Don't talk," he murmured softly, his voice thick with emotion. "You just rest. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." He blamed himself with every passing second. He should have noticed how pale she looked the past few days. He should have insisted she rest instead of encouraging her dedication to every tiny wedding detail. Seeing her like this made him realize how fragile strength can be when love turns into silent self-sacrifice. When the ambulance finally arrived at the hospital, medical staff quickly surrounded the stretcher. Nurses asked questions as they wheeled her through the automatic doors under the harsh white lights of the emergency entrance. Dae followed closely, answering everything he could: how long she had been overworking, when the fever might have started, whether she had eaten or taken any medication. His voice was steady on the outside, but inside he felt like he was standing on shaking ground. Huyen was brought into an examination room almost immediately. A doctor checked her temperature, blood pressure, and pulse, while a nurse inserted an IV line to help rehydrate her. The thermometer confirmed what Dae had already feared. Her fever was dangerously high, likely caused by exhaustion and lack of proper nutrition. The doctor reassured him that it appeared to be severe fatigue combined with a viral infection, nothing life-threatening if treated promptly, but she would need rest and careful monitoring. Only after hearing those words did Dae allow himself to breathe properly again. Once she was transferred to a quiet hospital room, the noise and urgency faded into a softer stillness. The steady beeping of medical equipment replaced the sirens. Huyen lay asleep, an IV drip slowly restoring fluids to her weakened body. Dae pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down without hesitation. He gently wiped the remaining sweat from her forehead with a clean cloth. When her lips looked dry, he carefully moistened them with a damp cotton swab. Every small action felt sacred, as if caring for her this way was both a responsibility and a privilege. Hours passed, but he did not once check his phone for wedding updates. He ignored missed calls and unread messages. Nothing was more important than the woman lying in front of him. From time to time, Huyen stirred slightly, her brows knitting as if discomfort lingered. Each time, Dae would immediately lean forward, softly whispering reassuring words. "I'm here. You're safe. Just rest." Under the sterile hospital lights, surrounded by white walls and quiet machines, his love felt clearer than ever. The wedding decorations, the grand ceremony, the perfectly arranged flowers, none of them mattered in that moment. What mattered was her breathing steadily, her fever gradually lowering, and the simple hope that she would soon open her eyes and smile at him again. The night at the hospital felt longer than any night Dae had ever known. He barely moved from his seat beside Huyen's bed, afraid that if he closed his eyes even for a moment, she might need him and find him absent. The steady rhythm of the heart monitor became the only sound grounding him in reality. Every small movement she made, every soft sigh, every shift beneath the blanket, made his heart tighten with anxious hope. Gradually, as the medication began to take effect, the intense heat that had burned through her body started to fade. The doctor returned briefly to check her condition and gave Dee a reassuring nod. Her temperature is going down. She just needs rest now. Those simple words felt like a lifeline. Hours later, just as the first hint of morning light began to slip through the hospital curtains, Huyen stirred again. This time, her eyelids fluttered more steadily. Her breathing was calmer, her expression less strained. Dee leaned forward immediately, his hand still wrapped around hers. "Huyen?" he whispered softly, afraid to raise his voice too much. Slowly, she opened her eyes. For a moment, her gaze was unfocused, adjusting to the brightness of the room. Then her eyes found him. Even in her weak state, she managed the faintest smile. It was small and fragile, but to Dee, it was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. Relief washed over him so intensely that he felt his throat tighten. "You're awake," he breathed, his voice trembling slightly. He gently brushed his thumb across the back of her hand, as if reassuring himself that she was truly conscious and safe. "Thank you. Thank you for getting better." The words surprised her. She blinked slowly, confusion flickering across her face. "Why are you thanking me?" she asked in a soft, hoarse whisper. "Because you scared me," he admitted honestly. His eyes were slightly red from exhaustion and worry, but they shone with warmth. "I don't need a perfect wedding. I don't need grand decorations or a flawless ceremony. I just need you healthy. That's all." Huyen felt her chest tighten, not from illness this time, but from emotion. She had spent days stressing over table arrangements, invitations, colors, and schedules, thinking that making everything perfect was her way of showing love. Yet here he was, reminding her that love was never about perfection. It was about presence, about care, about staying by each other's side when things fall apart. Tears welled up in her eyes, sliding slowly down her cheeks. She tried to lift her hand, and though she was still weak, she squeezed his fingers gently. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't want to cause you trouble." "You are never trouble," he said firmly, leaning closer. "You are my future, my family. If you fall sick, everything else becomes meaningless." Those words broke down the last of her emotional defenses. The hospital room, once cold and sterile, suddenly felt warm. The IV drip, the white sheets, the faint smell of medicine, none of it mattered anymore. All she could feel was his hand holding hers, steady and reassuring. In that quiet morning light, Huyen finally understood something profound. The wedding was not the beginning of their love story. It was simply a celebration of a love that had already proven its strength. And in that hospital room, fragile yet full of sincerity, their bond felt deeper than ever. She smiled again, this time a little stronger, and as Dee leaned his forehead gently against her hand, both of them knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Not perfectly, but faithfully, with love.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Live Single RV. Vậy là câu chuyện của chúng ta ngày hôm nay đã kết thúc tại đây. Trong câu chuyện hôm nay của chúng ta thì đã kể về nội dung đó chính là trong lúc chuẩn bị đám cưới rất là gấp rút của Huyen và Đệ thì Huyen đã bị ốm và liệu rằng cô có kịp khỏi ốm để tổ chức đám cưới cùng với Đệ hay không? Hay là đám cưới sẽ phải hoãn lại. Tất cả sẽ được hé lộ và câu chuyện tiếp theo sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh Live Single RV. Các bạn nếu thấy câu chuyện hôm nay hay, hấp dẫn mới lạ, hãy bấm nút like, share và để lại comment ở dưới video nhé. Huyen và Đệ luôn luôn biết ơn các bạn rất là nhiều vì đã luôn theo dõi và ủng hộ hành trình gia đình Huyen Đệ. Và nếu các bạn yêu quý bé Mai A, yêu quý Huyen Đệ thì hãy bấm vào giỏ hàng được đính kèm ở trên video để mua các sản phẩm ủng hộ gia đình Huyen Đệ nhé. Huyen and Đệ, thank you so much. Please continue support our channel. Bye bye.